Guys, oh my, the lighting is subpar at best. Hopefully you're just listening. If you're watching, hey, check out my loon hat. I guess that's the one positive if you're watching. But otherwise, we're pretty grainy over here, pretty dark, but honestly, I'm kind of okay with that. Yeah, so hey guys. Welcome back to Rolling with Katie. I'm your host, Katie. Thank you for being here, man. I appreciate it. I'm here today to talk about the wedding of Nate Jacobs and Cassie, now Jacobs. Season 3, episode 3 of Euphoria. We're gonna get into it because I have a lot to say about this. It is Monday night after watching, and I watched it twice. I watched it right when it came out last night, and then I watched it again today. I appreciated this because I was able to just like chill and watch it the first time through, and I think I'm gonna keep doing that if I can and if I have the time, because I'm able to just chill and watch it the first time and really like feel all the emotions I think creators are trying to like guide you through, and then the second time more taking notes and focusing more on like my thoughts on the episode and stuff, and being able to pause it and stuff that second time to like stop and write a note. Whereas when I'm watching with my sister and we're watching it live and like live reacting to it, I kind of live for that. So I'm like, let me start doing that. Not that y'all needed to know that at all, but I just wanted to say that I'm kind of considering maybe doing a live reaction for the finale of this season. I do feel like my sister and I have some pretty good takes during these episodes and some funny little moments. So that could be a good time. If not for Euphoria, I am considering maybe doing more live reaction videos like Michaela and I had done in the past. My check-in for this week, and yes, I haven't done the check-in episode yet. If I have time tonight, I'll do it right after this episode, okay? I know no one is waiting anxiously for it, and that's why I'm like not prioritizing it, but this will be the last time I address it. It's gonna come out when it comes out, and if you care, Lilas. If you don't, also Lilas, and you can skip. But my one check-in thing that I did want to say today is that they dropped the trailer for season 3 of House of the Dragon. Girls, I'm so lit about that. June 21st, I think it said. Clock me if I'm wrong. Let me know. Holy shit, I can't wait for that. I definitely want to do episode by episode coverage of that on this show. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm super excited. I need to rewatch season 1 and 2. Okay, guys, let's dive in because I got a lot to say. The Ballad of Paladin. I would say it's technically a Jules episode. However, it's heavily focused on the moment we've been waiting for, Nate and Cassie's wedding. This was such a doozy of an episode, y'all. First, I just want to shout out. I have a couple random things to say, but I do want to shout out BB being back on the show. Love to see her. I'll get into this more, but I'm just like not. I know Maddie is like a mean girl technically, or she was in high school. I just don't appreciate, and not to get all sappy over BB, but I feel bad for her. I don't appreciate the way that Sam Levinson is always having these girlies low-key talk about each other like that. I think a good part of the show is them talking about each other, and like that's how Rue's getting information about each of them, or that's how information is being passed and stuff. And women do that, right? But like the cattiness of like, I bet you she doesn't know who the baby daddy is. Why are we throwing strays at BB like that? Like, come on, man. Why can't Maddie just be like, you know, in on the love girly Lilas moment? Maybe I'm asking for too much. I know these are imperfect characters. I don't think I'm asking for perfection. I just feel like when a man is saying like, and then the girls were catty and mean and talked shit about each other, I'm just sensitive to that, okay? I won't be silent. Fez on the phone. I think in some like promo content that they did, Sam Levinson had said he wanted to maintain Fez's spirit in the show and still have that character be living, but he's just like on the phone with people or they mention him. And so I do think that that's really beautiful. Apparently he's trying to do parkour to get out of jail. The other thing, and I feel like I haven't talked much about Lexi, and even in this episode coverage, like she's in my random notes and shout out. I don't have a lot to say about her, and I can't remember if I talked about her LA storyline, her little industry baddie moment, but overall I just feel like she is so far not super likable for me this season, and I used to love Lexi. I don't know what we were supposed to think with how she was acting in season 1. Like it really was giving that that she had a crush on Rue. Like, they fucking kissed. I'm over here gaslighting myself, like, well, maybe you're just a lesbian. But no, they kissed. They were like, let's practice kissing or some shit. And then Rue was like an out and proud lesbian. And we found out in this episode that Lexi is a virgin, which, girl, goddamn. And I don't love that. Like, we find out she's a virgin and she's super unlikable. I thought it was funny in episode 1 when she was being like kind of hypocritical and like typical LA liberal person. I'm just kind of feeling like now she's being more unlikable. And maybe that's just a me like personal thing, but she was just like talking about marriage as an institution and shit. And then like it's better than herpes, like being all uppity about her virginity. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on the poor girl. I'm just like, is anybody gay? Is anybody actually gay or no? Rue, but we don't get to see it. Okay. So guys, this was like a Jules episode. I live immediately. I would buy that painting. Her smoking a cigarette. It is just so sexy. Other shots I loved were like when she called her dad to tell him that she was dropping out of school. When she called him, she was up on the roof, and the pink in the sky, like off in the distance, kind of like foreshadows Cassie and Nate's wedding coming up. That is like shrimp cocktail was the fucking palette. But I don't know, I just loved those shots. They were so pretty. And I'm kind of like low-key romanticizing and jealous of her little art college, her and her roommate just doing art all day moment. Love that for her. It's like the life that she's meant to be living. And I wish that she could just live it. I wish that everybody could just have enough money to like live and function and go for what they're passionate about. We had making up to do though with Jules, since she wasn't really in the first couple episodes. So I love that we get more backstory about the whole situation of her being a sugar baby. Retail is also catching strays in this episode, which deserved. Fuck retail, dude. This show does make points, and I think in some ways, from like a very white perspective, really hits the nail on the head with a lot of economy related, money related shit. Retail in this economy is soul sucking. It sucks to go to a mall. It sucks to go and shop in a mall nowadays, let alone like clocking in to work there to wait on the people who decide to go to the mall. You know those types of people. You're making like what, $17.50 an hour, and you're working like 8 to 9 hour shifts, and the same playlist is playing over and over again. Bro, retail is so bad. You know, it's interesting. I liked Rue's narration in this, and I was really able to pay attention to it more the second watch, because the first watch I was just so wrapped up in the images and what was happening on screen. I liked Rue's comparison of different phases throughout American history where anyone could get rich. The gold rush and westward expansion, like when the internet first started, and now it's like cryptocurrency. She said Jules had found her version of that, which is these men are out there and they have the money and they're willing to pay, and anyone can make money doing this. This show is making commentary on something that is so like palpable in our society today. Also, I didn't even say anything, but yeah, I'm like rotated a different way today. So my background is less cute if you're watching. It's really neggy vibes if you're watching. Hopefully you're just listening. The whole like orchestra swelling of Jules's backstory and getting us caught up in what she's been doing. It's almost like she's like working up to becoming this version of herself that has harnessed this wealth, and wealth is power. But then we're also able to see the other side of that. I don't want to say consequences, just because I'm trying to view this in any other way than he's just like punishing women for sex work or being a sugar baby stripper. It's interesting when Jules realizes how much money she's able to make for minimal effort, tells Cal that sometimes she does like to have sex with old people. So slay. Immediately once she realizes that, she's like, I'm gonna clean up, drops out of art school so that she can just like paint full time and stay at this dude's apartment when he's with his family, who allegedly knows. His wife allegedly knows. I'm just stating facts. A lot of people online leading up to this episode theorized that Nate was Jules' sugar daddy. I loved that fan theory. I had very, very, very small hopes that Levinson would do that, unfortunately. The guy would much rather bring in another fucking creep ass into this show than build off of character shit that is already there. It might not just be that. I know Hunter Schafer and Jacob Elordi have like a feud and they don't like to work together. That's why they like changed everything. And this is just stuff that I've heard, but like they changed it from it being Nate and Jules who started dating and having a secret relationship. They changed it to Nate and Cassie. And now we're here. Of course, we have another fucking freak who looks like Sam Levinson a little bit, is asking her all these questions about when she transitioned, saying all these freaky things. The one thing I'll say about it is I like that we get to see Jules can go toe to toe with these guys. He is definitely trying to throw her off and get her in like a vulnerable and compromised position. And she, in that dinner conversation between the two of them, doesn't break ever. She always maintains her sense of control. So I did appreciate that about that scene. However, just like Ellis as a character, I'm like, okay, great, you know, fucking great. It would have been cool if Nate was the sugar daddy, and that's why he's panicking and freaking out before this wedding, and then also he owes this guy money. Like, why won't we do that? Why can't we do that? Again, if it's like a comfort thing with the actors, I'm less pissed off about it. It's more just like, dude, it's right there. It's right fucking there. But no, you want to saran wrap a bitch. A dude going crazy on her thighs where she's wearing nylons. Dude, go through his phone. Go through his fucking laptop. I'm telling you. Ellis is now the only guy that Jules is seeing and going on dates for money with. And all of her worries about making it as an artist disappeared. That was something that Rue said in her narration. Wow, motherfucker is saran wrapping her in an all windows apartment. Not that anybody could see in there, but like, that shit was jarring. I don't know. I didn't like that. I guess the real question is it worth it? If you're able to pursue your art, what are you willing to do? I mean, it raises the stakes that he's kind of like a freak like that. I don't know if she was like really in danger with him saran wrapping her and doing that to her. Like, it does show us they're not just like having normal people sex. Like, he wants to control her. I don't know if he asked her to cut off all the other men that she was seeing, but either way, he's like paying her enough where she doesn't have to see anybody else. He's letting her live in that dope ass shit. She can do art. Like, she can literally do whatever she wants. She's slaying. She's absolutely eating with all of these outfits that she's been wearing. The fucking bra dress in the second episode, and then now for the wardrobe people said it's a one of one dress, and I forget where from, but like, god damn, she's just like stepping out, and she's never given a fuck what people think about her. Never. I'm not saying her being a sugar baby doesn't make sense. What I am saying is, I don't know what else I'm saying. I love watching Hunter Schafer on screen. There could have been other storylines explored with this character, but that can be said for all of the characters. So another theme that's kind of introduced with this whole backstory on Jules that kind of permeates the rest of the episode, and I think just this season in general, is that money is power and influence. If you have money, you are powerful and you can do anything. If you don't, you're fucked. That wasn't like a huge theme in the first season or the second season, really, because they weren't having to deal with that. I think it makes so much sense to be all of a sudden so hyper focused on money and wealth and power and how sex plays into all that in this season that's following them in their young adulthoods, because yeah, those are the problems that they're dealing with. Those are the problems that Zillennials are dealing with right now, and Gen Z and millennials too. In season 1 and 2, especially season 1, one of the things that set Euphoria apart and really resonated with some people was how authentic of a portrayal it was of the high school experience in the age of the internet and school shootings and violence and what it is like growing growing up in a post 9/11 world, post economic crash of 2008. It only makes sense that now in season 3, it's showing what it's like to be a person in your 20s, 30s, whatever, like just starting out, a young person right now in America. Like this is a hyper dramatized version of that, but I just think that's interesting. Finally, having more money than she could have ever imagined having, she has the power to, oh, hi, buddy. Hi, Kitty's gonna join us. She has the power and the ability to drop out of art school and she can pursue her art full time. Like, it gave her the power to do that. I also thought it was like interesting and low-key kind of sad when Rue was like, I'm your sugar daddy tonight. Is that iconic? Yeah. But I wish she would have refused Rue's money. And maybe she did and we just didn't see it. But like, I just wish we would have seen that, because I get that like money is power, and Rue now has all this money from the stuff she's doing for Alamo, and she's able to purchase Jules' time and get her to go to this wedding that she literally doesn't want to go to and that gets left alone at. The symbolism of that, I think, is interesting. I just wish that their connection would have like prevailed over that. That would have been nice. This is something I'm going to mention throughout the episode, but I feel like that is an indicator that this shit was created by a man. Created by a man indicator or some shit like that. Because I feel like girlies who have this strong bond like Rue and Jules do would have a connection that goes beyond that. And I think a woman would understand and know that. This whole, like, Rue's a lesbian, so she wants to be a pimp and a sugar daddy, like, is really, I can't tolerate it at all. Like, it's just coming off really yuck. So that's that. The closure conversation with Cal, again, Eric Dane, loved seeing him in this episode. He did have some funny one-liners, being drunk at the wedding. I thought the closure conversation between him and Jules was good and needed. It was like really interesting to finally get an answer about like what Cal ultimately went down for and how it wasn't Jules's tape that got into his hands. Like, I feel like that was a huge cliffhanger for so long, and we knew that Nate had given the recording. So I don't know, hearing Cal like explain himself is interesting too. I don't know, it's tragic that he says like high school was the best years of, he's like, high school was the best years of our lives, and Jules is like, I could not disagree more. It's just sad that he peaked in high school and like lived this lie his entire life, and now he's on the sex offenders list, like rightfully so, he should be, but it's just very sad. You definitely don't want to end up like Cal, and I think Nate definitely doesn't want to end up like Cal. So this, and only this, could be the explanation for why we still do not have a valid explanation as to why Nate had all those dicks on his phone. Okay, if the reason is because Nate wants a certain type of life. He wants the house, the job, the girl, and he saw the path that his dad went down by being fruity and is like, no, I do not want to be like him. As an audience member watching Cal now, it's like, oh my God, that is such a sad form of existence. I wouldn't want to be like him either. I need a nod to that. That is me like stretching and thinking in my brain that that is what it could be. I hope we get like an internal Nate episode. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself right now, but Cassie she enters this episode freaking out because something's wrong and he didn't even come home last night. Where was he? What was he doing? Is he gay or not? I just want to know what's going on in this kid's head. The motherfucker didn't smile throughout season 1 or 2. He's all smiles this season. And Jacob Elordi said in the like behind the scenes thing that was like an acting choice. And I love that. He's really trying to put on this show of success, but that's just not the reality for many different reasons. And that involves him like smiling and acting really, really happy. When it's like, bro, are you? He has all these financial problems, and it's like, if that air ever clears, will he finally confront his sexuality, or like maybe it's really easy for him to like pursue this American dream and he's like, once I just have that, everything's gonna be fine. I don't even know if we're gonna get there though, because Mans is down bad and like really in this financial crisis. So I'm like, is that just then now his whole plot? Are we just forgetting the dicks on his phone for forever? That's a cop out in my opinion. Another update in my life, just randomly here, is that my girlfriend and we got another cat. So now I'm a cat mom of 2. Crazy wild, who would have thought? Last thing I want to say about Jules is that I think she caught the bouquet. She had that pink bouquet at the end. We didn't see bouquet toss. Maybe she just took it as like a little keepsake. I don't know. Or did she catch the bouquet? Is that like symbolism? It was so like eye-catching in that big dark apartment. I was like, that's gotta mean something, but what the fuck do I know, right? There's so much low-hanging fruit, and I feel like so much of it is the women-led art, wardrobe, and makeup department that work on this show. Like one of the designers in the wardrobe was talking about in the behind-the-scenes clip that she wanted Rue and Jules' wedding outfits to be cohesive, and it was. They looked so good together. That color is like pretty unique and it matched super well, and she was like, I wanted that to like highlight their connection, and it did. And like, thank God someone's talking about their connection. Thank God somebody is like acknowledging their connection as like cute girlies, you know? I don't know, pisses me off. I don't know. Are people like, we should make the bouquet stand out for some reason? I don't know. Whose choice was it? We'll never know. Maybe, but maybe it could mean something. I feel like nobody ever predicts what's actually happening in this show. Some shit is so out there. Like the pig. Oh my God. Pour one out for the animals in this episode, and everybody say a prayer for Michaela. If she ever watches this season of Euphoria, she is currently not in the mood to watch anything new. She is in her rewatch era, and I already gave her a trigger warning about this episode, because if you were a Popcorn Chats fan, you know that Michaela is very sensitive to any animal cruelty, violence of any kind in movies or TV, which super valid. Like, it's so upsetting. These poor innocent creatures. Two in this episode, a sweet innocent piggy and a sweet innocent bird. I hate to see that, but I did already give her a trigger warning that happens in this episode if and when she becomes in the mood to watch this season. Michaela would be traumatized, and I'm traumatized. They fucking shot that pig and its guts went all over that girl. He shot a gun in a full club. That man he should not own firearms, let alone be 3D printing them. Let's just talk about Rue real quick. She has that going legit conversation with Alamo, and it is low-key kind of like, girl, at this point, why do you think that you are ever going to make it out of this shit? There is no out for her unless something like drastic happens. It's kind of interesting and somewhat hard to believe that Rue is living the life that she's living parallel to these other characters. They're not living normal lives necessarily, but Rue's is just so far gone from what the other characters are kind of dealing with. The fact that this episode ends with the DEA getting involved and pulling Rue over, and then in the promo for next week's episode, we're seeing that she is basically going to become a rat, and I don't know if she entered some sort of deal with the federal government to spy on Alamo, but it doesn't look good. Rue is definitely in her consequences of one's actions era. So is Nate. That's tragic. Also Cassie. Also, is this shit confirmed over after this season? Is this shit gonna get wrapped up? Because if not, I'm pissed. Also, last thing about Rue is that it's bogus that she ditches Jules at the wedding that she like basically forced her to go to. Again, it's just like, that's not very leave no bitch behind behavior, and I don't appreciate it. But again, it just goes back to Rue living like this crazy situation out because of all the crazy shit she did in the past that just like could not be resolved normally. Like, this is the only logical place things could go. Let's dive in more to money is power and that whole theme. Like I said before, without money, you're completely powerless. And I mean, we see that really clearly with Nate getting completely eviscerated by Naz's goon, losing control and power like that. This makes when Fez kicked his ass look like kids in the schoolyard. This was an epic smackdown, a smackdown of epic proportions. They cut off the man's toe. They rocked his shit. He's gonna pop, and they kind of alluded to that with the cork bottle hitting him in the eye situation. But man, now I feel like this shit knocked him down a peg. I don't know. That weird moment with like the man at the strip club with the most money, he kind of gets pulled into the back. That weird moment where she's dancing. I'm just like, this is just an excuse for this woman to shake ass. Again, it just all seems very fantasy, male gaze driven. He throws the money at the stripper, this huge display of wealth, and then he's brought into the back. That's when Rue's selling these 3D printed weapons, literally the physical manifestations of absolute power. This season just really seems to be making commentary on the economy and what it's like to be a young person in America right now. The majority of the characters that are being closely examined are women, so that just like adds nuance to it, and the fact that 90% of the women in the show are doing some form of sex work, just interesting to me. Let's get into the event of this episode, which is Nate and Cassie and their nuptials, their wedding. The gender war continues with these two. This time it is in front of all of their family and friends and a bunch of people from their past that they went to high school with, and just a huge audience. Nate is definitely going through a crisis. Literally at their wedding, Cassie says he's not a man because men provide. The fact that his masculinity is hinging on providing is crazy and sad for him, but also, yeah, babe, this is the moment. Like, this is very accurate, I think, to the economic situation of this country and the pressure that like men and women are both under to exist in these traditional roles and like the strains that can cause. The shrimp cocktail thing is confirmed. The set designer did say that the color palette was based on shrimp cocktail, so that wasn't just me making that up. Everything about their wedding is just so gaudy. Those bridesmaids dresses, god fucking awful. Their wedding singer was just like so out there and like looked expensive, like the ice sculptures, but nothing was really tasteful. And Maddie touched on that in the last episode. It's one thing to like have a bunch of money, but it also matters what you know and the vibe that you are able to curate. If you have a bunch of money, that's one thing, but it is all image based at the end of the day. What do we think about Suze talking to Cassie and walking her down the aisle? The first time I watched it, I was like, this is horrible. Again, a written by a man indicator. Suze is unhinged, yes, but I can't see her doing that. Maybe in a private conversation or like something before the wedding, but with her walking her down the aisle, that didn't seem like the moment for that. I just like didn't get why she was like talking about how beautiful she looked on her wedding day and like how she had no idea like how bad the life with Cassie's dad was gonna be. Suze was in the hallway with Cassie when Cassie said that Nate didn't come home last night or the night before her wedding. For Suze to be like, father like disappeared for nights on end and stuff, and the tight zoom in on Cassie, her being like, oh god, Nate's already doing that. Like, I get we're trying to show that like Cassie and Nate have been sprinting towards the finish line of this wedding, like of this moment for a while now, and they both feel like they need this in order to, I truly don't even know. They need it though to feel okay. This conversation with Sue is like we're seeing the cracks and Cassie's kind of realization that this isn't the fairy tale ending that she had anticipated, and she is gonna end up just like her mom, maybe worse. And I think that's like her biggest fear, just like Nate's biggest fear is ending up like Cal, trying to not only cross a certain threshold threshold of wealth, but they're also like really, I think, avoiding things. Suze is either just talking out of her ass and Cassie is interpreting it or like kind of worrying about the stuff that she's saying, and Suze isn't intentionally warning her or giving her any type of like unsolicited advice, because then she's like, you're my masterpiece, and gives her away, and is like very proud of Cassie for bagging Nate basically, and vice versa. People are treating Nate marrying a girl like Cassie as an achievement. As a society, we treat a woman marrying a man, any man, as an achievement. I don't think people would be congratulating Nate and like as supportive of him the same way that they are with him being with Cassie. And like that does become very apparent when his mom literally takes the time in her speech to throw a stray at Maddie. She's her number one op from the beginning of the wedding, making rude ass comment when Maddie pulled up, took the time in her speech to drag her basically and be like, yeah, Nate fucked up before and I'm glad he found Cassie because we love her. Sydney Sweeney is kind of the poster child for like the American dream from a man's perspective. Nate's parents and the other people attending this wedding are viewing him bagging Cassie as an achievement, and I think he knows that. And then like I said before, women just can marry any man and it's viewed as a big deal. Suze is like even feeling like she achieved something because Cassie is her daughter and she is getting married. The wealth of it all has something to do with it as well. Like they are exuding with this wedding and their house. You know, Nate owns his own business. He's very successful. They're exuding like this successful, wealthy, young, hot couple. And they're kind of like dangling it in people's faces with the lobster and the black caviar and like really expensive tacky decorations and the ice sculptures. And then they're like super sexy first dance that they had choreographed. So like Nas does low-key have a point being like, you owe so many people money, like where the fuck do you get off doing this? And I appreciate about this season that like Nate is having to, for the first time in his life, deal with not having everything handed to him. And I think he just continues to expect that things are going to work out. We really saw that in the conversation that he has with, I think his name is Fred. It's that other gender war competing straight couple that the wife is Cassie's bridesmaid for some reason, even though she clearly hates Cassie and is like preying on her downfall. Classic. They invested a ton of money in Nate's real estate journey and she keeps catching wind that like Nate is low-key broke and this shit is not going well, but she's just a silly woman and her husband doesn't listen to her and he's like, no, shut up, you crazy bitch, shut up. Yo, Nate, bro to bro, man to man, dick to dick, what's the deal? It's just so funny watching Nate Jacobs crash out over this fertility flower. It's so symbolic that something like so delicate that's endangered is what's like fucking his whole shit up. I think that's hilarious. I think that's poetic. He's floundering. Fuck that flower, say it with me. He's like doing his football captain bro shit, manipulating, conning this man, and again the woman is clocking it and the man just simply won't listen to her. Literally all you had to do was listen to her. She's gonna get the biggest I fucking told you so coming up. Promo, we see that Nate is like on crutches in court, I'm assuming going to bat up against this fertility flower, looking a mess because he got his shit rocked. Throughout the episode we see that Nate is really trying to maintain the illusion that everything is fine, even when like other people overheard that threatening conversation with Nas when he shows up at their wedding. He still just like seems to tell himself that like it's gonna work out and it's gonna go his way eventually, just because he's like never been put in his place like this before. And it's like, no bro, the flower is endangered, you're not gonna be able to build on it, you lose. But his dad is like, you're a winner, look at your wife. He is like clinging to this wedding. He needs it. There's no room for him to confront his sexuality. Like that's, I guess, not what we're talking about. I appreciate what we are making commentary on. But again, you did what you did in season 1 with the dicks on the phone. You did what you did. Address it. After he was threatened by that guy, he's just like swanking around having this cool guy conversation with Jules, smoking a cig. Like he's just so confident. So this guy does need to be knocked down a peg. It's crazy that it is so violent, gnarly, but I'm interested to see what happens now. This is the second time that he's been like brutally beaten up. He got that cork to the eye too, super hard, and then he got his shit rocked, lost a toe. He is not doing well. Thought the fairy tale happy moments right after they say I do and walk down the aisle, and then the one when they're leaving and smiling, like those do seemingly look so picture perfect. And Suze even says to Lexi, see, dreams do come true. They are in some ways succeeding at portraying this lie that everything is fine. And I liked those kind of slowed down beautiful moments that showcase that. I just can't believe that he's like someday a father. The confidence, like the refusal to acknowledge the situation that you're in. You are in so deep. You owe this man over $500,000 and you're talking about bringing children into this world. What do you think is gonna happen, my guy? And honestly, this SmackDown is something that they both deserved. Sydney Sweeney was low-key hilarious in this scene. This shit has been coming to the two of them for a while. It sucks that Cassie like has to have this realization that she hitched her bandwagon to the wrong engine. It sucks that she's now at rock bottom with him, but I do think it's going to be interesting to see how they get out, and it looks like Cassie and Maddie are going to continue working together. Rest in peace, toe. Maybe they'll throw it on some ice and sew it back on. Maybe that is part of Nate's journey. But it didn't look like Cassie was ready to act fast. She kind of was just letting him bleed out like that. So we'll see if Nate has 9 toes or 10 in episode 4. Or maybe that will be yet another unanswered question. Okay, the last person I want to talk about with this episode is our girl Maddie. 8 down with that outfit. I can't believe how great she looked, and loved that she was able to show up in that to this wedding. She was absolutely serving. Rue's narration said that Maddie doesn't know if she wants to get between Nate and Cassie more or to make a little money. So it's like, are we suggesting that Maddie is somewhat motivated to get back with Nate or to just break them up? I thought that was interesting. I don't know if I have any hard and fast opinions about that. I can appreciate showing that despite her bad bitch energy and like her coming into this wedding very confident, you know, she also has her career. She's providing for herself. We're still being shown that she has feelings about what happened in high school, and seeing her ex from high school marry someone who was her best friend. There's still a part of me that is just like, bitch, rise above. Like, you won. Maybe that's coming from a place of like, I know that because I know that Nate actually fucking sucks. But she won in so many ways. And it's like, girl, I think she knows that, you know, after her interaction with Cassie. But like, that shit that his mom said, and then seeing them dance like that in front of all these people, like, she probably fantasized about that day with him. That can hurt. But part of it, I think, also comes from how much I loathe that our society, we just view women marrying a man as an accomplishment that truly like overshadows most other achievements, like Maddie having this awesome career. And the amount of beautiful, smart, wonderful women I've seen come apart over a halfway mediocre man makes my blood boil. So it sucks that Maddie feels sad over it, but you also got to feel your feelings out. Everybody hurts. Everybody goes through it. I didn't like that Jules threw Maddie under the bus to Nate and was like, I think she got a little bit emotional. Like, why are you gassing him up like that? And then he's like, you love who you love. She doesn't love you, bitch. She is moved on. Maybe I'll be proved wrong, but I just didn't like that. Like, be a girl's girl. Again, written by a man indicator. I'm telling you. Okay, guys, those are all my notes for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you are listening, you could subscribe to Rolling with Katie on Spotify, and all my social media links are in the description of this episode. And if you want to watch the films that I have written and directed, those are also linked in the description of this episode. I will be back next week covering Euphoria season 3 episode 4. So until then, take care. Lalas.